Hey, welcome to Today Matters, and my name is Zach Wilbur. I'm the high school pastor here at Skyline. And today we're going to be looking at what does it mean to be poor in spirit. Now, this is a phrase that Jesus uses in his famous Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5, and he starts it off with this phrase, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And I love these daily devotionals because they're a huge encouragement to my faith, and they're something that is a supplement to my spiritual walk as well. And for those of you who are watching online or wherever you might be watching, I know that these daily devotionals are probably exactly that to you. They're an encouragement to your faith. They might be the way that you start off every morning, or they might be a way that you're trying to grow your knowledge spiritually. Wherever you're at in this process, this idea of being poor in spirit, I think it'll be an encouragement to you today. It's a huge encouragement to me as well. And in Matthew chapter 5, Jesus is kicking off this Sermon on the Mount, which is his first recorded sermon in Scripture. And he's speaking to a massive crowd that has been following him. And Jesus starts off this sermon by saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." And he goes through a whole list of what we call the Beatitudes, or these things that are spiritual blessings. That's the way that you can translate it. And the word there is makarios, which means blessed or happy. And another way, like you could say it, is blessed or happy are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And when I think about what it means to be happy, for the unspiritual person, or for the one that is not in relationship with God, when we think of being poor spiritually or mourning or being meek, that doesn't sound on paper like what would make us happy. And maybe as Jesus is preaching this sermon, people are thinking, well, I know I'm happy when I have enough food to eat, or I'm happy when my plans go the way that I plan them to, or when I have money. Like, that's when I'm happy. And what Jesus is really trying to say in these Beatitudes, or these blessings, is he's saying these are the attitudes, the attributes, and the nature of the people of God. These are the things that make up the people of God, and they're true of all of us. Now, while all of us have different giftings, and there may be different spiritual giftings you have as well, all of these attitudes that we read in Matthew chapter 5 are supposed to be true of you, of me, of everybody who claims to be a believer. And this is the first one that he says is, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And I love this quote from Charles Spurgeon. He says, "Everybody can start here. It isn't first blessed are the pure, or the holy, or the spiritual, or the wonderful. Everyone can be poor in spirit. Not what I have, but what I have not is the first point of contact between my soul and God." And that's really what Jesus is talking about when he says, "Blessed are the poor." That word for poor there is tokos. And what tokos means is it means to be like a beggar, to have this posture spiritually that's like a beggar. And it's coming before God with, "God, I have nothing to offer you." And this phrase, poor in spirit, what it really means is, as another pastor once said, it is to come before God and say, "God, I have no spiritual assets to bring to the table. I have nothing." And it's not to degrade yourself or to think poorly about yourself, but it's to think in the spiritual realm, none of us have any assets to bring to the table. God is the one that draws us into a relationship with him. And he's saying, "Blessed are you when you're poor spiritually," because that is the first point of contact between you and God. When you can admit that you need him, when you have nothing to offer him in return, that's the first point of contact. And all of these Beatitudes, all of these blessings are not something that are just true of the Christian or the believer one time. They're something that are supposed to be the very nature of us as followers of Christ. So when he says the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, what that really means, I think, for us today is that this is something that we are to come back to often. This is a posture that we are supposed to have often, and a reminder that this whole spiritual walk, this walk that you have with God, it's not one that you started on your own. It's not something that you brought all the answers to the table, that you brought the worthiness and you brought the righteousness. God is the one that brought it to you. It's not these spiritual assets that you brought to the table. And it's a great reminder to me that I have a daily need to come back to God. And poor in spirit is a great place to start because God will grow you, and hopefully these daily devotionals are growing your faith. That's why we do them as a church, that we want to grow spiritually and mature in our faith. But this is a posture of our heart to say, "God, I need you on a daily basis. I'm like a beggar in the spiritual realm. God, I have nothing to offer in that way. In the way that I treat people, God, to love people well, to have a gentleness, to have some of the fruit that you talk about spiritually, this love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and self-control. I can't do it on my own." And the great part about it, as Jesus says, is happy are you in your state because you don't have to do it alone. He says, "For theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And this phrase, poor in spirit, it's a great reminder to me that on a daily basis, I need God and I need to be filled and I need to have his blessings. And so today as you're tuning in, maybe that's why you tune in, is you're like, I want to be encouraged spiritually. Or maybe for you, it's something that you've just been trying to figure out this walk with God. And I want to encourage you today that that is a great place to start. Whether you know a lot and you've been following him for a long time or not, this is a posture of all Christians and all believers, is that we have a daily need for God and you never outgrow it. And you and I both have this need spiritually. So seek God today, because today it matters.